Are y'all okay? Y'all awake? Y'all like tonight? Okay. So, welcome to the Net Living Room. So glad that y'all are here tonight and semi-awake. So, my first announcement for you guys tonight is that this Saturday we have moving day. Woo! It is a day that we have been waiting for, y'all. I am so excited. We have moving day this Saturday at 10 here at the church. Many hands make light work, and there is a lot of room that we have next door that we need to fill up. That we need to figure out, okay, where is this going? Who has this? And many hands make light work. So please come out Saturday at 10. It'll be good. It'll be fun. It'll be something that we get to look back on years later because this edition is brand new. Like, don't you guys want to be part of our church history? That'd be so fun. So come this Saturday at 10 for moving day. So excited. And then my next announcement, I had already touched on it last week, but if you missed it, or if you're like me and so excited to say it again, we have summer intensives coming up. Woo! Yeah. So summer is right around the corner. Summer intensive is a very fun, very rich and thorough program that we do every year. And if you're interested in the intensive, we go over church history, apologetics, leadership, discipleship, and have a defense for your faith. And if you're really interested in it, please raise your hand. I will give you a program description of the intensive that goes over a little bit more detail of what it means to be in the intensive. And maybe you were here last week and you didn't raise your hand, but now you're here this week and you're interested. This is your opportunity to raise your hand if you didn't get one or you want one. Anybody yet?
12-year-old. I don't know where. 11 people.
I'm sorry. Thank you.
She's all sitting down.
Okay, I have such a short little thing. We did do campus outreach today, and this was my lovely question. Everybody said the left.
Is Instagram good for society?
Look at me on the right. How dare I? All right, yes. Hold on, yes.
Which Instagram are you referring to? The one that was pre-Facebook owned or the one that is current?
I'm talking about the one that people would go, ah, yeah. And they would mark on the
right
post.
now.
Like the one that's right now.
Oh,
Right now.
then no.
You put no, you put.
Raise your hand if you think yes.
It's good for society.
It's fine, be bold. I want to question the yes people because y'all are in the minority, strong minority. None of these are fake. No fake responses.
So did you ask the no's if they are indeed on Instagram?
Oh, a lot of them. A lot of them
So
would
they
walk
say
up and
it's
be
not
like,
bad, but we're doing
I'm
it.
on Instagram and I know it is bad for society. There's a common. Okay, who said yes though? And someone wanted to tell me. Marcus, why yes?
Because I utilize it to make money.
Makes money off of Instagram. Yeah, Mariah.
Good reason.
I think it's a tool, and if you're using it just for your enjoyment, then it can become a distraction. But you can also use it for a lot of good, as in for advertising or reaching people through Instagram.
True.
It's a tool. It can be used for bad and it can be used for good.
We do that. We pay Instagram for ads, and it's actually effective. Yeah, we do. It's fine.
Yeah, we give Meta a lot of money,
We do give Meta a lot of money. Yes. April.
Why didn't you say TikTok?
Why didn't I say TikTok?
Yes, well, I thought you would have said
That would have been
TikTok.
the more popular one now.
So Peter has something to say.
So I'm just not aware of
When
TikTok.
Peter raises his
Yeah,
hand,
Peter.
What are you going to say, Peter?
What? It depends on your feed.
I didn't want to
That's a
ask
great
Peter.
answer.
He said
It depends on your feed,
Like your,
on your algorithm, on what you get sent.
like your lion
See, like pastor videos.
I know, you can get stuck in an algorithm, that's why I just tell you what you
Yep.
do here.
I love that we pay Meta sends advertisements out. I see our advertisement and I like it because I want to support the net, and now I get all of the net. So the advertisements are just fed to me now. That's
Probably when you like that advertisement, it costs us
Yeah,
money.
it did.
Does it?
Yes, thank
It cost
you.
us
So
money.
should I not be doing that?
No, it needs likes. It's fine.
It needs support, right?
It's worth the money.
I thought it needed engagement. Is an ad different than a post?
Yes.
An ad is different than a post.
When you respond to an ad, it charges us.
Wow.
Wow.
Can I deduct that from my no? Or would that be an addition to my tithe because the cost of the church more?
Oh, and
I don't-
tithe deduction?
you know, it's pretty for everything.
Well, anyways, campus is slower. It's kind of testing. A lot of people have tests, so we're just kind of out there. But we will be there next Thursday. We won't be there. It's spring break, right? 10 to 60 students. Is it spring break next week, or is it 2 weeks out?
2 weeks.
It's 2 weeks out. In 2 weeks, we will not be there, but we will be there next week. Yep, I needed to look at my calendar before I said that statement. Yep. So we'll be there next week, 10 to 2. Come help. It's always nice.
Did you have any help today?
I did. Yeah, Anastasia was out there the whole time with me. Tara dropped by in between class.
Representing.
Good stuff. I did have one conversation that I thought was interesting that wasn't, they're just drawn to the table to talk. It wasn't related to this question, but it was an interesting topic. This guy walked up and he was just cursing in every sentence just about, sometimes multiple curse words per sentence, just a very vulgar mouth, right? And then he looked down, he saw the flyers, and he goes, "Oh, y'all are like a church ministry or something, right?" I said, "Yeah, we're Thursday night young adults ministry. We also have a church. That's the other." I pointed to our overall church flyer, right? I was like, "Yeah, so that's our overall thing." He was like, "Oh, that's cool. That's really cool. I'm cool with that. I love Jesus." I'm like, "Oh, neat." And he was like, "Yeah, I know I love Jesus, even though I curse a lot. Because it's, it's one of the cool things about Jesus is that's okay."
Really?
Yeah.
Since when?
Yeah, it's a great question. Yeah, so sometimes I debate. It's like, do I smile and just greet them and invite them, or do I challenge them? I have that inner debate with just about every person. But this person, I was like, yeah,
Wow.
I'll just question a little bit. So I questioned him a little bit. I brought up just one or two scriptures, right, that would seem to suggest that maybe you can't just do whatever you want, right, if you actually follow Jesus. And he got very, very quiet. And then for the next couple of minutes, for the rest of the conversation, he would curse, because it's just the way he talks, and then he would like flinch, and he would look at me, and it was really funny. You could see the conviction on him already.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so interesting interaction, I thought. I don't know if I'll see him again, but it was interesting. Sure was. So come next week, it's fine.
Yeah, I should. Sorry.
Disappointment. Every time a player got hurt, he was fine the next play. Well, that's a good thing. I think Jesus was healing them. Do you understand he was hiding under the bleachers, just laying his hands on them so they would be fine? You really need to. Their cheerleaders up there like, we got school spirit. I'm like, yeah, you also have the Holy Spirit. They have over there praying, the Lord is my shepherd. Yeah, he's also your shooting guard. So you see, I don't know what they were praying for. Listen to them. I'm assuming points because they scored 84 of them. You're making excuses. And then Joey's all like, we beat you. I'm like, you ain't beat us. Well, you know, kid, he beat us. Actually, Jesus may love all the little children in the world, but he also loves the. You guys lost because you're ridiculous. Real good. Listen, God might have created the heavens and the earth on day one, but on day two, he shot some foul shots. I promise you that. You can't do this sore. That's what he heard the coach say after the game. I want to thank God. So that right there tells you that they were planning something sneaky with it.
That's just so funny. I'm sure you've seen it. I've shown it before. Have y'all seen that clip?
Yes.
Playing the homeschooling team? Oh, yeah, right. Losing a basketball game to the Christian homeschool team. You ever seen that happen, Peter? Is he there?
Yeah.
Is he present? Wave at me, Peter.
He said
Oh, he's
yes.
there, okay. Thought maybe he's on TikTok or something. Okay. Right, so we're in part 4 of this series. So this part I've titled Redacted. I showed that clip simply because they're thinking, the conversation is all about something else is going on. It's not what it appears to be. And what's true, was God really helping the homeschooling team, or was it just him overthinking in it and they're overreacting, and obviously reading the coach's comment at the end like, thank God, because that's a typical thing they say in athletics anyway, right, all the time. And so I have a couple of discussions we're going to start off with. I want to get you thinking. I want to really have a conversation with you. And doing that, I've got the mic for Spotify. If you could come, it really is going to work better if you could come up here and just stand next to me so you're in the YouTube, so you'll be recorded. People are watching. There's probably a vast crowd. There's probably a live crowd right now of maybe 5 people watching at this very moment who want to see you. Right? Yeah, okay. All right, so here's the question, drum roll. You have heard the phrase, the end justifies the means. What does that mean to you when you hear that? Okay.
Hello, people watching at home.
The vast congregation online.
So whenever I hear the end justifies the means, I think of like a psychopath and think that they think like I can do whatever I want as long as the outcome is good.
Ooh, is that how you think?
That's not what I.
Oh, you're not a psychopath?
I wouldn't say that I live by the end justifies the means, but I would say that's what I think of when someone would say that.
Okay, we want to make sure we don't get the wrong impression from what you're saying. You seem to have a lot of insight into that. More than one should have. She said it was a psychopathic way of thinking. Okay, who's next? All right, Kaya. They all want to see you. Here is the lovely Kaya. Here you are. Little curtsy.
When I think of it, honestly, it makes me think of war crimes, so the things that people are willing to justify to do what they consider to be a good thing, but it requires hurting a lot of people, but it's fine because we won. And like, the winner never gets tried for war crimes.
Hmm.
It reminded me of that movie that we saw about the Nuremberg trials.
Oh, yeah.
And even in the trials, they were trying to do a good thing, bringing people to justice. There was a slippery slope of what was legally acceptable and morally acceptable to bring people to justice, and how far were they willing to bend the rules of the legal system to make that happen.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So it's tricky.
I forgot who I went to see that movie. Obviously, you were one of them. It was like 6 or 7 of us went to see that movie. Right, somebody else. Oh, you went? You went? No? Oh, you just have something to say? Oh, who has something to say? I see hands going up all over the vast congregation. All right, here we go.
Going against the grain here, I'm going to talk about that. Like, this is a paraphrase from like Machiavelli, right? That
I don't know where it came from.
ends justify the means. The idea there, I believe, is like if your end goal is important enough, if you believe it's important enough, then your means should be able to be justified. And let's take a different example. How many people was it okay for the North to kill to get rid of slavery? I mean, slavery is bad. Killing people is also bad, but should the North have been like, maybe we shouldn't have done this because we have to kill people in order to do it? Getting rid of slavery was probably the bigger evil, I think, than killing the people who were willing to protect it.
Okay. All right. So I guess he felt like the end did justify the means.
Sometimes.
Huh? Okay.
Sometimes is the big word.
Depends on the end, depends on the means.
It depends on the answer. I think sometimes this is used as an expression to say that I can do anything. The means can be even evil or diabolical. It can be dishonest. It can be unethical. It can be unlawful. So, but because the end in sight is so desirable, we will do anything to get to it. We'll sell our souls to get to it. And that's really where the idea comes from. So if you, for instance, if you say, well, we want to win this next election because our people need to be in office and our people need to be in power, so we will cheat, we will steal, we will lie, we will do anything we can possible to make sure that we are in power and that we win the election. That would be an example of we're justifying the end, we're justifying the means because of the end point that we want, that we desire. And there are people in power in our country right now. Well, they're not in power right now, but there are people that have been in power in our country. Some of them are still in power that actually believe that cheating and doing anything that they have to do to remain in power or to gain power is justified because they are special. They're elite. They know better than we the people, and so therefore we will bypass the people to get our end. That would be a good example of the end is justified by the means. Okay, so I'm going to read the scripture. We talk about, I think the greatest safeguard from being deceived is a deep love of the truth. We went through a number of passages about this last week, but I'm going to reread John chapter 3, verses 19 through 21. Jesus says, "This is the verdict. Light has come into the world, but people loved darkness instead of light because their deeds were evil. Everyone who does evil hates the light and will not come into the light for fear that their deeds will be exposed. But whoever lives by the truth," that's the key, "whoever lives by the truth comes into the light so that it may be seen plainly that they have done what they have done and has been done in the sight of God." So it goes back to this whole idea of it's a heart issue of whether or not you love the truth. And it takes a certain amount of courage, I believe, to love truth. And so that's what Jesus is saying. And of course, most people ultimately do not want their deeds exposed. They don't want to have to deal with the pain of facing their own guilt. They'd rather bury it and live in rebellion against God. And so, and that's our mission, to reach those people and to even have conversations with people that may not even want to have that conversation. And we are trusting the Holy Spirit to penetrate that hardness, to penetrate that resistance to the truth. And sometimes people can hate you for it. Okay, discussion number 2. Do you think mind control methods are being used today? Can you think of some examples? Okay, got the mic ready?
Can you just say it for me? Algorithms.
All right. She says one word, algorithms. You didn't have to come up and say one word. Okay. Somebody want to explain it? How are you? Come on, Tara.
Oh wait, not algorithms.
Yeah. No, I know. Come up and tell us what you think. Do you think mind control methods are being used today? Can you think of examples?
Yeah, so like the idea of like on the media, it's like always Democrats this, Republicans that. They always use these certain key words, like Christian nationalists, different things. And that label is automatically stamped onto you with all these listed attributes that are typically negative. So if you label yourself as that, someone already makes all these assumptions of you that may be right or wrong, or half right, half wrong.
So using labeling that isn't completely honest
Yes.
to stigmatize somebody.
Yes.
Is that kind of what you're saying? I'm trying to say it back to you to think if I'm understanding you.
Got that right?
Kind of?
Yes,
Okay,
you got that
all
right.
right.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So how we use language can manipulate, trick people. Okay. All right, here we go. Ryan's on a roll.
How about bots? It's sort of a fake consensus. You go on any video and you see
Bots.
a bunch of fake comments where you see comments trying to say one thing and you start thinking, well, if all these people are saying X, maybe X is the right thing here, when why is the truth.
Right, right, and it gives you the impression that bots, took me a while to figure out actually what bots are. But the fact is that you get the impression from the bots, the many, many comments that will come in. Some of them can be rude and unkind and judging and all kinds of stuff that they say. I mean, some of them can be AI originated, but some of them are real people that are fake personalities. In other words, they're there for their purpose, and they're sometimes even hired for that purpose. Maybe you would like to be hired as a bot. We have a job opening. I'm just kidding. We could use about 10 bots to represent our ministry. No. And you just go into our feed and see all these like awesome comments. So anyway. But that's a great example, the use of bots. Sometimes some organizations will literally buy they'll have 10,000 bots, 5,000 bots. Yeah, Mariah. We don't have Mariah much longer. She's about to go into the mission field. Well, you're going to DTS school.
Yes.
Come a little closer.
One thing I think they can use for mind control is gaslighting or the Mandela effect, or changing small things and trying to convince you that no, that wasn't there. You are wrong and we are right, just because they're in power.
Okay. Right?
I don't think you're right.
Well, I think she's right about that.
I think I'm right about that.
She thinks she's right about that. But it's just her opinion. But she's right. Okay. Anybody else? I want to get y'all thinking. Okay, Krista's turn.
Thank you. Kind of playing off of what Tara had said, I definitely think that they use the media as a tool. And I think that there's a lot of things with the election, COVID even, that were buried. They buried the truth to push their own narrative. And so I think that the vast majority has been lied to about what's actually going on, because that's not what they're seeing on the local news or even national news. They kind of have to dig for it. And I think all of these platforms, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, they're used as a tool to then push this narrative further. And so to find the truth, you actually have to actually dig for it. And a lot of people are like 5 minutes, they have formulated their complete mindset on a subject just based on 5 minutes worth of scrolling because somebody else told them. They are not actually educating themselves.
Well, if you hear something enough, isn't it true?
Right? I saw it on Facebook. Facebook told me.
So if Israel is committing genocide, if you hear that enough, it must be true.
Right.
Perfect example. Let me tell you about that. Okay, so, and I don't believe it's true, not for a minute. All right, so let's go, and if y'all have never heard my talk on the geopolitics and theology of Israel, I urge you to listen to it. It's a very powerful, well-researched talk, and I cover so much, and then we have a Q&A at the end of it, but it is the most listened message I've ever done. It was on a Wednesday night. The most, hands down. Not even the emancipation of the slaves. Not even what is true story of emancipation. That was always the most listened to, but it's not even close anymore. This one outdid it. So I urge y'all to listen to that if you haven't. So let's go into this a little bit. I'm going to review just a second, but we're looking at 7 tactics of control that are used. They could be used by an institution or organization, could even be used within a family, that are unfair in a sense, very unfair. They're unfair tactics, but they can be used widely and effectively by governments. And so we're using the German government prior to World War II and during World War II that they used tactics to control their people and to deceive their people. And so, they're real basic. You start to look at it and you realize this is what Germany did. This is what Nazi Germany did to get their people to be 90% all in, completely bought in. And the only way they could finally grasp the truth was when their entire country is leveled by relentless Allied bombing. And then finally with literally the Russians and the Allies coming in on both sides and taking over the entire country. It was devastating. But the consequences of what they did were so far-reaching. And so it was the reality that hit when they finally, when it all collapsed, when they really realized that it was all a farce. It was all a lie. But the lie was so inbred, it was so deep, it was so diabolical, and they took it and believed it hook, line, and sinker. And you say, well, that was Germany. If I'd been there, I would have known better. If I'd been there, I'd have seen through it all. Are you sure? And that's the issue anytime mass deception takes place, is how easily are we buying in? And so, and it can become very persuasive. So this first thing that was used, the first tactic, and we spent quite a bit of time on this, is dishonesty, and it's also false pretenses to gain power. So many candidates will put forward an agenda that in fact they don't even believe, but because they think that it will appeal to the public, they'll get votes, and so therefore they'll gain power, but then when they're in power, they'll do something completely different than what they said they would do. And it's kind of a bait and switch, it's deceptive, it's heartbreaking when that happens, and so we come to this point where we try to vet candidates, we try to figure out who they really are they really good for it, do they have integrity, will they actually follow through with what they say they will do, because they get in power and all of a sudden they forget about us. So the second method that's used to gain power or to manipulate or deceive the people is what I'm calling exclusivity and suppression. And what I mean by that is, in Germany, all public officials, all of the German soldiers, everybody swore allegiance to what? Does it say there? They are swearing allegiance here. Who are they swearing allegiance to? First of all, who do American troops swear allegiance to? Anybody know?
United States Constitution.
Right. What did you say?
The United States Constitution.
Exactly. So she served in the Navy, so she knows. So when our American soldiers, they do not swear allegiance to the President of the United States. They do not swear allegiance to the Congress or to anybody holding office. They swear allegiance to the Constitution of the United States and to defend that Constitution, right? So against enemies, foreign and domestic. And so, but in Germany at that time, what did they swear allegiance to? You want to answer? You're holding your nose? They swore allegiance what? Hitler. Absolutely. So he was their supreme commander. He was the Fuhrer. And so that's their total allegiance was to one man. So he became godlike. So that is also kind of a dead giveaway. And that's also a characteristic of cults, of other types of things where people blindly begin to follow somebody as a leader. So the unquestioned chosen leader, deification, he becomes in essence a false Christ. They have now alone all the answers, and they have unilateral control over everything. They are a dictator. The elite in power alone, this idea, I'm kind of coming back to this, but the idea that the end justifies the means is the idea the elite in power actually believe that they know better than we the people. And so therefore they can circumvent the will of the people for their own good, and so they can maintain power. And so they will cheat, and they will steal elections. They will do anything they have to do to be able to win it. You say, well, have we been losing elections in the United States by cheating? I absolutely believe it's true. And now it's coming out in Georgia that there were 300 and something thousand votes that were counted in that election. They were almost all for Joe Biden that were illegally counted. And now it's accepted that in fact they did illegally count them. It was 300,000 votes. And what was the margin of victory in that state?
Like
10,000 votes. So based on that, and that's just that one body of ballots. But so as they go from state to state, they're going to find that repeated over and over and over. There's so much data that indicates that they really and truly, that's why Trump jokes about it. He says, probably with a little pain in his heart, but he says, I'm serving my third term that I won. I believe he did. I believe he won it. Nothing else makes sense except that they used COVID as a cover to sneak in hundreds, probably hundreds of thousands of fake ballots and got them through the system, using mail-in ballots as a tool to do it. All right, so the elite, though, that were behind all of that, believed it was justified to circumvent the will of the people because they believe they know better. And it's the same elitism. So you sit there and look at that and you go, wait a minute, you're saying that you would circumvent the Constitution? You would actually undermine the elections, the free elections of the United States of America so that you can remain in power? It would destroy America. We would lose our identity. We have nothing left if we don't have reliable elections with integrity, right? You see the danger of that. But that's how close we were to losing our freedoms in the United States. And it's still happening, but not as much. We're starting to get a handle on it. Okay, so corrupt elections are an expression of the elite. It's a form of suppression. It's a form of arrogance and exclusivity because these elite individuals feel like they know better. Okay, so that is a method of controlling the people and staying in power. So, let's see. I remember back during, you don't see it so much now under the new administration, not really at all. But during that 4 years of COVID, I mean, they were trying to shut up the church, marginalize the church, say the church was not essential, but yet we could keep the bars open, the liquor stores, and all these other places, the strip clubs. Those apparently were all essential, but not the church. You see how hypocritical that is, how unjust that is? But that was a attempt to shut down the church and the voice of the church. That was not long ago, ladies and gentlemen, and you put those people back in power and they will do it again, and they'll make it much worse, and it'll be much tighter, and there'll be no way out of it. So you had judges, you had people that were willing to suppress the will of the people. You saw cooperative efforts with the government at that time with Facebook and YouTube to shut down the voice of the people. And Elon Musk is really the one that changed that paradigm by buying X, buying Twitter. He literally changed the paradigm of what was happening. What? It's all about the control of information. And the control of information affects the thinking of the people. And that leads to suppression. Okay, so beware when leadership becomes controlling or threatening. So that goes to everything. All this applies even to institutions. It applies to churches. It applies to ministries, any cult that's out there, any false religion. There has to be certain safeguards and certain understanding and a free exchange of information. So the third thing is relationship control. Slander, for instance, today, relationship control. Here's what Germany did. They continuously, relentlessly slandered the Jews. The Jews became their scapegoat. They became the enemy that they could use to turn the people and actually control the people. If we can get them to hate the Jews, listen, they had the Jews reduced to animal level. These were not human. These were vermin. They had films, propaganda films, over and over and over, repeatedly telling and indoctrinating the people that the Jews were these horrible, awful human beings, and that therefore that laid the groundwork for them to then persecute them and ultimately eliminate them, massacre them, murder them, in huge numbers, unconscionable. So, and yet, so we see, so what's happening is they're breaking down the relationship. The relationship, isolating the Jewish people, that was their target. We used them as our target to foment hate and therefore unity among the German people toward a common enemy. So that hate was so destructive, and then they would even use it to divide families. So if you had a family in Germany that did not agree or wasn't going along, then they indoctrinated the children with Nazism so they would turn their parents in. And they did. The children would turn their parents in if they were not loyal to the new Nazi government. And so you can see this also in abusive relationships where, say, a boyfriend becomes so controlling and they will separate. They will separate, say it's a boyfriend, and they will separate the girl from all the people they love and care about. It's one of the first signs. Girls, if you end up in a relationship where the boy wants to isolate you and keep you from your closest friends, keep you from your family especially, or your mom and dad, and they are moving you into a position of complete isolation that is cult-like, and it's a really bad sign. And one of the things I look for in probably every marriage I've ever done is I look at what are the personalities like before they're married and what are the personalities like after they're married. If there's a big altering in personality after the marriage, like for instance, they're fairly happy and free before, and then they get married, and all of a sudden, say the woman begins to be very suppressed, very withheld, is not free in her interaction with people, they become recluse and isolating, then there's something's off. You follow? So, so abusive relationships often lead to a where you have a boyfriend that's oppressing his girlfriend by isolation. So the fourth thing that is used, it was used in Germany at that time, and Germany is our case study, right? It's just such a perfect, because we have so much information about actually what happened in Nazi Germany. Information control, and this is the big one I really want to focus on. Information control, it's a one-source propaganda machine. The government controls all the information coming out to the people. They even control the Bible. They control the pulpits. They have to license the churches. They have to authorize everything. They're going to confiscate all the radios. The worst thing you could do then is to listen to the radio and the Allied message, because it might get in your head. You might actually start believing it. They did not want the people to know that the Allies are making progress and that they're winning battles and they were marching across Europe. So it could be even not just in Germany, but all the occupied lands, whether it's France or the Netherlands or Belgium or anywhere, they would take all the radios, and if you kept a radio and you were secretly listening to that radio, it was a severe penalty. Probably I'd have to look it up, but I would bet you that some of the people, if they're caught with the radio, they could actually go to a concentration camp. It's very serious, because they knew if we can control the flow of information, we can control the masses. But yet people are persistent people, and they will find ways to get information if they feel like the hood's being pulled over them. And so that was an example of information control. You have to realize the control, the manipulation of people's minds and thinking is not just because of modern technology. They had the ability to do it with analog technology in World War II. And then we see it over and over. We see it in China, we see it in Russia, we see where communist regimes take power and they control all the information. I have a clip for you. It's from a movie called Expelled. The idea, to make sense of it, is he's talking about censorship in high academia concerning biology and evolution and things like that. So, so at the very end, I want you to see
they've ever seen in the physical world. That's got to be firmly grasped. That's not something we can just say, oh, no, it's just a little bit more of the same old, same old. It's not the same old, same old.
We are finding is that there's information that's in the cell that cannot be accounted for in terms of these undirected material causes. So there's, and so there's some other, so there has to be an information source.
So one of the key questions faced by modern biology is, where do you get information from?
Well, Darwin assumed that the increase in information comes from natural selection. But natural selection reduces genetic information, and we know this from all the genetic population studies that we have.
And where does the new genetic information going to come from?
Well, that's the big question.
So when we find information in the DNA molecule, the most likely explanation is that it too had an intelligent source.
I mean, we need engineering principles to understand these systems. Okay? I mean, it's only because of our advancements in nanotechnology that we can even begin to appreciate these systems.
But using intelligent design didn't seem to stop the scientists I spoke with, so why all the controversy?
Suppose we find, simply as a matter of fact, that our scientific inquiries point in one direction.
Which is that there is an intelligent creator.
Why should we eliminate that from discussion? Streng verboten? How come? Why?
Streng verboten. Very good. What is streng verboten? Strongly forbidden.
Strongly forbidden.
We got two possible hypotheses.
Okay, so you follow that. So what they're saying is these are all scientists, research scientists, academic scientists, but they are very, very elite. They're very influential, very powerful. But what they're saying is that the institutional, the establishment, the mainstream establishment is suppressing information in science where the evidence of an intelligent creator, an intelligent designer is so obvious and it's so pervasive, it's so overwhelming, but yet they pretend it's not there. And they will suppress anybody that wants to bring that to the head. So he's saying, why, if the evidence takes us there, would we not allow us to go there? Let's let the evidence take us there, but they're not allowing it because they don't want to embrace the Creator. Isn't that amazing? And that is widespread in academia. This is a fairly old clip, but it's been pervasive since then. Proverbs 18:17 says, the first to plead his case seems right until another comes and examines him. Interestingly, the United States Constitution has safeguards built into it. It's probably one of the reasons that tyranny has had a harder time taking hold in the United States. Because of the Constitution, this persistent, pesky document that keeps tyranny at bay. Freedom of speech, freedom of the press, freedom of religion, the right to bear arms, and the right to assembly, the balance of powers, that's checks and balances, all built into our Constitution. They protect us. And they are what, these principles are what help us sustain freedom in our country. It's a really, really big deal, y'all. So could the U.S. as a nation become vulnerable to mass deception? And we just got a taste, and I looked at this, I think, a couple of weeks ago, but this idea here of one-sided science, that's a taste of it, where the government itself, where the institutions themselves are bullies when it comes to this. And they will punish professors that take a stand and say, hey, I'm going to stand by this regardless. And they lose their tenure, they lose their academic grants and all kinds of punishments that kick in to teach them a lesson that you better shut up. There are many other examples. Restrictions, even in Texas today, this got to be changed. Licensed counselors are restricted from counseling from a base of Christian values. You have to counsel by secular, non-Christian values because I guess that's somehow biased. And so you could be in jeopardy of losing your Christian license. There's loopholes to that. If a Christian counselor is, say, on staff with a church, then there's some protections. Freedom of religion, right? But if you're just a counselor out there, so these are issues that are being debated, I think, in Texas now about changing that. I think the woman's right to know in many states. That was something that there were some laws that were passed in a number of pro-life states where they're saying that a woman to get an abortion has to first be informed. And the right to know laws. So that's where they started saying you have to get a sonogram, you have to hear the heartbeat of your baby, you have to do these certain things because they're trying to awaken their conscience. And so, but there are a lot of people that don't want that because they don't want the conscience awakened. They want them to kill their babies. They want that slaughter to continue unabated, right? So a woman's right to know often is protected with euphemisms. You know what I mean by euphemisms? Can y'all think of euphemisms that are used concerning abortion and life? It's a great little meme. I saw this today. Don't worry, these are German Nazis talking to each other. Don't worry, it's not murder. The Jews are really not human. The same reasoning here, don't worry, it's not murder. A fetus is not really a person. But what a powerful meme. That was put up by one of the pro-life groups. Saw it today on Facebook. Those Facebook can be some good on occasion. So can you think of euphemisms that are used regarding that? Yeah, Mariah.
I think that with slavery, saying a black person isn't really a person, they don't have as much value as us, so it's not bad.
Okay, that would be an example of demeaning the value of a black person during slavery era, where you say they're not really quite human. It's the same idea. But concerning abortion, what euphemisms do you see to justify it? Yeah, Tara.
In my ethics class over the summer, the professor spoke about how, okay, I'll compare it to, let's say, there's this person who needs to be connected to your blood to survive. And if you disconnect, he'll die. But that's a burden on you. So comparing that to that, the baby needs you to survive, you know, that kind of mindset is what you kind of put it.
Okay, did y'all follow that? Y'all know what is a euphemism?
The euphemism is when you say one thing but mean another, or if you're
Okay.
But if you're your words sort of shroud what you're getting.
Okay, so you choose another word that takes away from the impact of the one word. So instead of murdered, you say dispose of tissue. Okay, so instead of a baby or an unborn baby, we'll say fetus. And what does fetus actually mean? It means baby. But it's Latin. So what it does by replacing these words with a Latin word, it takes away the essence, the weight of the truth of what that baby actually is, an unborn baby. So we use a Latin fetus to replace that word. That's what's called a euphemism. In other words, it takes away. So the Germans had over Auschwitz, they had, we said that last week, you said the German, was it?
Arbeit macht frei.
Which work makes free. So it was a lie, but it was a euphemism. It gives them the idea that somehow they're going to work themselves free when all they're doing is working themselves to death. Any other euphemisms? What do you think?
It's a clump of cells.
A clump of cells. Right. So you're taking away from the reality by using words to diminish. Right. And how about a product of conception? You got one?
You know, it's a good movie to watch regarding this. Juno. Have you seen Juno?
No, I haven't.
It's good because she was gonna abort her baby, but what makes her stop is that they have fingernails. And then she's like, I don't want to have a baby.
They have
now.
fingernails. Wow.
I don't know. It was just the theme of the movie, but it made her
Okay.
change her mind.
Okay, so I got a little time. I'm going to move on. That's good. Y'all have great. You're there. So today we have a new wave of digital deception. It's kind of like deception on steroids. I mean, it's really become very pervasive and very persuasive. And I think part of it, the addiction we have to scrolling and just reading instant information, and just flashes past us, and we're hearing things, and sometimes we're seeing things repeated over and over and over again. And we actually start to believe it simply because it's repeated so much. So that's a new wave of digital deception. Here's what I want y'all to understand about it, because if you guys are on your phones and you're on TikTok and you're on Instagram and you're on Facebook, depending on the algorithms and where you end up out there, my algorithms take me to lion cubs. And I love that. You know, and sometimes they'll try to deviate me and they'll say, no, 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 I don't want that, right? So I want to keep my algorithms in a certain kind of arena. And I do that on purpose because I know I can control the algorithms by the choices I'm making. If I start heading a certain direction, they start giving me a bunch of, you know, wacko pro-abortion propaganda. I will say, see less, see less, see less, so I don't get that stuff. So, because I don't want to do anything that encourages their propaganda, right? So the new wave of deception, we have a very vulnerable population. I believe we're very vulnerable, and there's a lot of reasons we are. We were lied to by the government. Krista just mentioned it. We were lied to over and over and over again during the COVID years. And I listed a whole example. I gave you about 10 lies that they were telling us, none of which were true. And here's another lie they told us over and over and over. There's no evidence of widespread election fraud. How many times did you hear that? Every single time, almost word for word. I probably heard it 100 times, and I never believed it. I said, they're lying to us over and over and over. So after a while, you start realizing, hey, you know what? I don't think I'm going to believe anybody about anything anymore because they just lie. Everybody's a liar. So we were lied to by the government. We were lied to by institutions. Therefore, we can no longer trust anything that they say. And that's not true either. Because I can go to a history book on the Civil War and I can get a lot of information that's legitimate. And the farther you get away from some history, the better you can get a recording, a record of it. And there's lots of documentation, lots of things. You can go to the Library of Congress. You can read letters. You can read Travis's letter from the Alamo. It's actually there. It exists, right? So we know what he said. And his appeal for reinforcements, which is an action of futility. But so sometimes we're so close to history right now that it's hard for us to see the reality. We get 10 years out and all of a sudden we look back at it, we're starting to see the whole COVID era much clearer now. Not just us, everybody is seeing it clearer. But the problem is we feel so jilted and so hurt. And some people feel so hurt by the deception and the lies that they are painting with too wide of a brush. So now I won't believe anything anybody tells me of any, whatever they are. I mean, we're just going to be cynical and not believe anybody. And I don't want to be that way. I don't want to be that distrusting. And but here's what I want you to understand. And a lot of people really do not see it. They do not understand this. The amount of funding coming in to TikTok and Instagram and Facebook and X and social media platforms are absolutely being inundated with nefarious purposes. So they are working very hard to indoctrinate the American people and divide the American people. And I'll tell you where the funds are coming from, and you just have to realize this when you start to realize how much they are trying to influence your thinking, my thinking, all of our thinking. And that is, I'll tell you, Qatar, in the U.S. alone, is thought to have spent $100 million. Try again. 100 billion. So for $100 billion, how much can you affect algorithms? How much can you affect ideas? How much can you affect thoughts? I mean, it's unbelievable. And they're hiring bots, thousands, tens of thousands of bots. They're influencing people's thinking. Iran is spending $600 million annually. I don't know how they can do that because they're basically broke. But they find it as a high priority to buy missiles, ballistic missiles, develop a uranium nuclear program, and to spend $600 million a year in the U.S. trying to indoctrinate us. And doesn't it make you wonder, what are they trying to convince us of? $600 million a year. The third one, who spends far more than Iran, is China. China spends $18 billion annually to influence your thinking and my thinking. And they are also willing to influence content creators that you may trust. A lot of people can be bought pretty easily. When you see a content creator all of a sudden flip in their positions that they've held for years, and all of a sudden now they're like on the opposite side of everything. So there's a lot of indoctrination, there's a lot of manipulation that goes on. And let me just caution you right now, some of the things they're trying to do is they want to divide the conservative movement in the United States. They want to have us at each other's throats. They want to get us to where we are not a voting bloc anymore and we lose power and the leftist Marxists can take over. That's what they're doing. And if they can convince an entire generation, and there was a poll done recently, Val and I were looking it up, it's from the Manhattan Project or whatever, but they did a poll, and I went kind of looked at some of the data, but if I remember, they were saying conservative Republican men were surveyed, and 45%? It was a very high percentage of conservative Republican men, young men. We're talking about under 50, under 45. No, that's not young deal. But that's considered the young side of the scale. Now believe that the Jews are a threat to the American way of life. That's conservative men. So where are they getting these ideas from? And I'll tell you right now, and how many of you even know a Jew? Let me just see your hands. How many of you personally know a Jew? Okay, how many of you know? 2? How many do you know? 5. How many do you know? Huh? A couple, okay. How many do you know? 1? 1 or 2. Are you in touch with them? Okay, the Jews that you know, are they a threat to our American way of life?
No.
Do any of you know a single Jew that is a threat to the American way of life? Who else raised their hand? You know Jews. How many do you know? 1. How many do you know? 1. Okay.
I didn't know one, but she passed away.
Oh, I'm sorry. So, and how many do you know? Okay, so I want to ask you that out of all of us collectively, this is anecdotal, but we can say we know 20 Jews. And would you say that any of them have a position that is a threat to our American way of life? I've known a number of Jews over the years. I got to know one of them in Israel really well. I spent many hours with him on a tour, and I just stuck with him like glue and asked him so many questions. I learned so much listening to him about Jewish history and his experiences. But yet, I'll bet you most of these people that they polled probably don't even know a single Jew, if they even know one. So here's what I'm telling you. Where's that coming from? And I'll tell you where it's coming from. It's the same place, all this continuous dogma that Israel's committing genocide. Who are the ones actually committing genocide in the world today? I mean, really doing it verifiably. They have, for sure, on a grand scale. But right now, today, who's killing people en masse? Iran. Iran just killed, what are they saying now, 52,000 unarmed civilians in the streets, mowing them down with snipers and rifles, just indiscriminately killing them, women, children, it didn't matter. We're killing them all, as many as we can, as fast as we can. It's amazing to me that they'll keep going in the streets at risk like that. Probably the only thing holding the Iranian regime, dictatorial, authoritarian, jihadist regime back is the threat of American intervention right now. So it's the jihadists that are the genocidal maniacs, ladies and gentlemen. And if they had a nuke, they would use it on you, and they wouldn't think twice. So we have to understand this information is coming from somewhere, and it's not true, but people are believing it because they hear it over and over and over and over again. And I want to caution you right now, beware of Jew hate, because it's become vogue and it's not pleasing to God. And it's out there, and they're trying to foment this, they're trying to cultivate it, and it's coming from big money. And they want to divide us with our alliance with Israel. They want to divide us with the Jews. And the Jews make up like 5 million people in the United States? And what's the population of the United States? Like 380 million or something? They're like nobody. That's why we don't run into them much. We don't see them. They're not even in Texas hardly. They're in New York. So these countries are spending so much money to get in your head and to convince you of certain ideas. So don't let repetition convince you of anything. Beware of repetition over and over and over. So anyway, a lot of good information there. The younger generation is being very influenced by the content creators and the bots and algorithms and all that, and you guys really should know better. And the Jews are the apple of God's eye. And you do not want to get on the wrong side of history with this. Acts chapter 5, verse 27 and 28. We did this in Bible study yesterday. The apostles were brought in. They were captive. They were brought in and made to appear for the Sanhedrin to be questioned by the high priest. High priest says, "We gave you strict orders not to teach in this name He said, yet you have filled Jerusalem with your teaching and are determined to make us guilty of this man's blood. And of course they said, we're not going to stop. We're going to keep speaking. You can't cancel us. You cannot censor us. You cannot stop us. We know the truth. And you may want to put us in a corner, and you may want to, marginalize us and get us to shut up, but we will not, because we know what we've seen and heard, and we're going to continue to speak it. Right? So, with that, let's stand together. We'll pray. And y'all know tomorrow I'm supposed to pray in front of thousands of people at the Trump speech. How many of y'all are actually going to that speech? Some of y'all are going? You're not sure? You don't have reservations? Okay. Just say a prayer for me somewhere in there. It's a lot of pressure, and I've been talking to the White House daily. Today, probably 2 or 3 times. They allow me to bring 4 friends in the VIP section. That will be Colby Wiltsey, and it will be, of course, my wife Jeanette, and it will be Victoria and Nathan Holland. And they couldn't even stand it. They're so excited to get into the VIP section with me. And so I just get, I was planning to have 1 minute of kind of an invocation, means that you can have some comments that you make and then you call the people to pray. And so I have some comments in mind, but I had in mind about 1 minute. And they told me, the White House told me that I have 2 to 3 minutes. And I went, oh, you're giving me wiggle room. I appreciate that. So what a privilege at this point in my life. It's really amazing how it happened. So I had a couple of people in our church that sent, they're kind of like, how did this happen? They didn't think I was important enough. They were like, how could this be that you, our pastor, is the one that's going to be up there kicking everything off? And I'm like, okay, so I hear you, okay. Anyway, but I appreciate the support. I can sense the moral support from so many in our church that just, I love seeing that. And somebody said, well, all these people are going to come to our church on Sunday. I said, oh, they're going to run away. I'm not going to that church. Probably nothing will happen. Except that what we do want to happen is the Holy Spirit to come and anoint me in that very brief moment to say something of truth. And so, Father, we just come to you tonight. We just thank you, Lord. I thank you for young people here that are having their senses trained to discern good and evil. They're becoming sharper and more alert and equipped to be able to sort through the lies that are out there. There's a lot of very powerful countries and people and governments that want to get in our heads and want to influence our thinking. But Lord, we want to be wise, wise as serpents, but innocent as doves, that we can rise above it and be alert and not duped. And Lord, we thank you for the Spirit of truth, whom we love, the Holy Spirit. We commit this time to you in Jesus' name. Amen. Bless you guys. Love you. Thank you for hearing me out. So I speak this. Don't start. Who started that anyway? Somebody started that. Somebody who's here. Oh.
How are you?
It was one of our guests started that.
This looks so soft. Like I want to lay down in it.
Quite a few of y'all raise your hands or you're going. Quite a few of them raise their hands.
It's on 2.
You're gonna
Hi,
do
Krista.
that?
I have a question.
Are you really?
Did you go to college?